welcome one and all once again to the Anti-Stall Racing IMSA Series Season 8, Round 4 here at the Red Bull Ring. Normally a track associated with Formula 1 MotoGP, but this time it is GT3's Pro and with the GTP shortly to follow. I'm Alice Davis alongside Cleo Culper in the booth today for a mix-up. Cleo, how are you doing today?
Perfectly all right. I'm interested to see the mix of multi-class racing that we're going to get due to a track that's not familiar with many of these cars. Usually they don't come around here in the real world.
Red Bull Ring, 10 corners, 9 of them challenging. Turn 2 does exist on the track, but is not really a challenge. But everywhere else, very deceptively wide track, because every corner you want to fling yourself as far away to the outside as you can. Instant count is going to be a factor later on in this race, but for now we don't have to worry about that. We are in qualifying. These groups should have 14 minutes, I believe. I should know the regulations by now. I've done enough of these races. 14 minutes of qualifying for the GT3s to figure out where they're going to start this race. Obviously, GT3 Pro and AM qualifying at the same time. Already seeing some on-track action as Bram Kran gets around Kevin Kulper's there. Just jostling for trying to find some track position before they get on track. And I see a GTP on track. 1 second.
That doesn't seem quite right.
Eli Caballero has lost his mind. It's not showing on the track map, but we can pretend he doesn't exist because we need to focus on these GT3 drivers because they're about to take their first flying lap as we see the lone hypercar on track.
At least he's not in anyone's way yet.
So we'll have a look at Sanderboa as they come through turn 1. Take it all the way to the outside. Could maybe get a little bit of the run off there on the Sloshka curve in the GT3 if you're feeling a bit spicy. Turn 2 again, a fast flick to the left as Trump tries to get on the radio. I'm not picking that up. Deep run the brakes into turn 3. Slow the car right the way down. Pick up the throttle as soon as you can. Again, watch out for that exit. Then
looks like this is a bit of a banker from Sultan so far. Or no, this is Alex, isn't it?
No, this is Sanderboa. The bottom times are the drivers furthest ahead on track. You can see Awesome's with a decent looking time in the terms of sectors. We go on board with Alex Ott, who will be the first to set a time. Coming in through the final 2 corners. You can use a lot more of the runoff here than track limits would indicate, but you will eventually get handed enough track if you go too far. It will be the first time for the Ford driver. 30.2 is quickly bested by Awesome's. So far Awesome's not with times to beat.
Looks like a lot of these drivers are still trying to get their tires at the temperature. It's quite a short track, so it would take several laps, I'd assume.
Yeah. It'll be more of a factor in the hypercars when they come out. But yeah, GT3s, your first lap is never your best lap. Second one is probably your best. You can probably get away with a third here. Like you said, short run around this track. Yeah. But normally we'll see drivers get 2 stints going, and on the second stint we'll probably start taking that about 7 minutes into this session, about halfway through their qualifying stint.
Yeah, I'm just going to chime in there, guys. Kirby, I know you spoke about the track limits that are going to be a factor in the race, but it's already been a factor in this opening couple of laps of qualifying. We've seen a lot of drivers come across the line and invalidate in that final sector in particular. I think it's the last couple of corners, the track limits are really, really tight with the white lines, and everybody's trying to get push it as far as they can, shall we say, to gain the maximum amount of time towards the end of the lap.
Joined by the ghost of George Hill, who's trying to just work production today. Keep an eye out for the little flashing red boxes on the left of your screen there. That should indicate when a driver goes off track. Unfortunately, they're quite small, and the drivers don't tend to stay off track for long. It's just that when they go, that does unfortunately delete the entirety of the lap. For instance, Awesome's still your provisional pole sitter as Otton Morphy have decent looking times, but everyone else over a second behind as Jeff Ross can't quite get there with a 29.962.
Do you think these drivers will come in before the GT qualifying time is up to get a new pair of tires, go around again with the track a little more developed, or do you think they're just going to stay out for the full 12, 14 minutes and give it their all the entire time?
I think you need to come in halfway. Like, the GT3 tires tend to start off pretty good for a few laps, but they do go away. So it's going to be a case of you can get a few laps, but to get the really good lap times, you probably want to take the fresh set. And again, the best time to do that is about halfway through. That is Jack Reed going a little bit deep in the final corner. That'll probably be an invalidation. And indeed, I'm not seeing that one come through. Yeah.
So any second now, we should see quite a few. You could already see outlap from Jarvis, Riva, and Kron, looking like they're trying to get their tires back up to temperature for their second and potentially final attempt at this. Well, we have a warning coming in for the number 38, exited during qualifying, and that was what? That was the GTP that left.
Eli Caballero, who I don't know why he left the pit lane there. We've not had this issue in all seasons I've been commentating, but either way, Race Control are aware.
Lucky to be just a warning, I guess.
Ali, to be fair, if you're going to go off track, the best way to do it is just not get in anyone's way and just drove out and didn't obstruct anyone. Can't complain too loudly. As we have a few drivers taking emergency exits to try and get to the pit lane a bit fast. This is about when you'd start to see everyone try to cycle through, and indeed you see a lot of cars and outlaps right now, as Ross has overtaken. Austin's at the top of the qualifying chart, has a decent chunk clear as well, so presumably the track is moving in a good direction.
It'll be a question of who can get the lap in at the last possible second with the best possible tires, though, because it could be such a fresh track that any extra second you spend behind someone could be that extra amount of grip necessary to get further up the grid, especially around a track with this few turns.
Lot of straight lines, or at least vaguely straight lines, around the Red Bull Ring. Being behind someone is definitely going to be a blessing, as Jesus Jimenez is not going to be so fortunate, but will come across the line.
You think it's a blessing? I would assume it's so many high-speed turns, you would get so much dirty air from being behind someone, don't you think? Or do you think it's offset by the draft?
The draft. I think it would be offset by the draft. I'd hope it'd be offset by the draft.
That's the only way to find out is to look at the lap times.
Yeah, guys, I think what we've seen here in the past is in the GT3 field, the toe is definitely a big advantage. Maybe not so much in the GTP field, where those cars struggle a lot more in the dirty air, so the benefits versus the costs are a bit different. But in this GT3 field, I remember we've had sort of teams of 5 cars in the past, or just running out in a big train to try and get the most lap times, to try and get the most top speed they can to achieve those really, really quick lap times. It's worth looking at these bottom 6 drivers as well. I think for rainy bit qualifying, it's very rare we get this far into qualifying and that many drivers still haven't managed to get a valid lap time on the board.
So like I said, off-track incidents are going to be a killer in the race. Unfortunately, some of them being a bit under qualifying. Falk is normally driving, you'd expect to see up the track Lemeray as well. But right now they are sat at the back of the grid. If it stays like this, but obviously just one decent lap could put them anywhere up that field, as we have 5 minutes left of this qualifying session for the GT3s.
Seems more people are now doing their quali lap as we speak than actually warming up their tires. There's still a couple on their out lap and in the pit exit. But it seems now it's now or never for many of these drivers, especially the ones that couldn't get a banker due to hopping on the throttle just a hair too early in one of the countless turns that was very strict on the turn exits penalty.
Culpers to the line, does get a time in, only good enough for 18th though, so only practically improves position by 1. See if it can get more time out of the track, get some heat in the tyres and try and go again. Again, fairly short run around here, so you can keep pushing for time if you think you've got it available. Vincent van der Mulbrook has 2 green sectors out of 3. Does improve, but not for position.
I just saw as you were speaking, Jarvis and Kohler just got an off track for a second, and I think it was Jarvis just pulling over,
Yes.
immediately going out again, desperately trying to get the heat back into those tires to get another attempt in that Audi. You could see.
Go for a replay
Zach.
of this Cinema Coven.
This is Kohler just picking up that off track that we just mentioned.
Air
You see
too
just
wide.
how tight those margins are. Yeah, not mentioning it compared to what we see in other people that get the valid lap time, but it's really, really costly out there today.
Would you say it's frustrating as a driver to have to deal with a track that's annoying with track limits, or deal with a track where you can't push it at all because there's a wall or a sausage curb there?
That is a good question, and I honestly don't know, because at least in a race situation, you can push and take a few off tracks. In a street circuit, if you push, you will just eat the wall and die. So I think I'll take the track limits, unfortunately, even if they can be frustrating at times. Ooh, that's a little bit of rally for Jack Reed. That is definitely an off track and an invalid lap.
To bring quite a bit of gravel onto that curb. I don't think you have to push all that much in that part of the turn, but if that was a bit earlier, that could actually cause a bit of a grip issue over there, and it had to be cleaned up before anyone could get a solid lap in. Cause a couple hundredths of time loss, or is it just irrelevant at this point?
Based on where the gravel would be dumped, it should have been okay if it would have been on the exit of turn 8, on the right side where you don't typically drive.
That's
So
what I
it
was.
might be fine.
Unless we missed something. If there's any gravel that's pulled on track, if we see a replay of that again, it shouldn't cause any grip issues. You can see it runs
It just goes in-
completely out wide.
Yeah.
Because theoretically, you're meant to be running along that curb anyway, so shouldn't cause any issues, and no cleanup should be required, but cars running around there should clean it up anyway, so that's a pretty simple warning.
2 minutes left in the session, as Jimenez has 2 greens to work with. Doesn't look like the times been posted, so presumably deleted for track limits. This is now
The original
countdown.
pole is now in the pits. On the pit exit, so they're going out for their final attempt, it seems.
Jeffrey's not quite satisfied to call it there. We'll try and get one more lap in. Should have enough time to get around.
Alex also on an out lap. Vincent just set what seems like a warm-up lap. Now going for theoretically his final.
Lot
That
of
Porsche
orange.
going all the way
Yes,
out onto the curbs. Don't know if that would be valid quite, but if it's there, it's there, I guess.
Well, very rich in sector times. The track might have gone away. To go on board. Just take as much of the exit of the curve as you dare. I'm not entirely convinced that was inbounds, but we'll see what iRacing says about it as we do come to the line. Jack Reed. I'm waiting for this to tick over, and it looks like Jack Reed has invalidated another lap. So now this is the final chance. Definitely has the window to get back around, but won't get another shot. This lap has to be perfect.
Every inch, even on the straight, you can see he's almost hitting the hitting the cones there, immediately braking as late as possible. You'd think he would have no nerves going through him the way he's driving, but you can imagine the possibility of starting dead last or even starting in the middle of the pack are two very different possibilities. His engineer would probably be yelling at him down the phone to slow down a little bit, get at least a lap in, but clearly that advice has not been taken by Jack Reed going around now.
Checkered flag flies with Taylor Lemery, Vincent Ossoms, Bram Cran all come across the line. Cran does improve to 11th. As rally for Sander de Boer. I think that's going to be session over for them, but still on with Jack Reed as I think we're actually approaching that incident. You can see the cloud of smoke.
Final 2 turns now. This is the easiest and most we've seen people go off. Looks good through there. There's the final turn. Looks like it keeps it tidy. What time will this be across the line? Not going to be setting any purple laps, it seems. But, oh, it wasn't even valid. Oh, it was valid. It's not exactly a stunner lap.
Ariel Falk, I don't think left the pits. I'm looking at my timing screen. I'm not seeing Ariel Falk as having even set a lap time.
Maybe the GTP took his seat. He saw the GTP on track and didn't feel like leaving, I guess.
And the students doing something to Boa. Oh, someone else gets to the other side of the track. They didn't catch quite who that was, but yes, this is the rally formation of the GT3, rarely seen.
Yeah, and thankfully at a turn where no real problems occurred, but that NSX behind, if he shot left instead of right, that could have ended badly. You don't want penalties before the race, let alone in the race.
All of the GTPs parked at pit exit, waiting for the green flag signal, which they should now get. And the flight of the Valkyries queues up as all of them filter out of the pit lane. So we get some wonderful cinematic shots of the Red Bull Ring. Jean-Paul Seaman looks like he'll be leading the charge to the green flag. And this is where strategy is going to be a little bit different in qualifying. Obviously with the tyre update, GTPs, these tyres do not fire off well at all. They take a while to get temperature in them. So I will presumably see the optimal strategy. You don't pit for 14 minutes, you just go out there and you set laps, you build heat in the tyres, and eventually you hopefully get to a point where you have enough heat to get optimal lap times. And you hope you don't have an incident, because if you have an incident and you need to reset, you're going to be out on cold tyres and you are going to suffer.
You really think they're not going to reset once this whole session? 14 minutes flat out, no resetting?
No resetting. I genuinely think the tyres are bad enough. It takes 5 or 6 laps to get them to optimal temperature. They are genuinely...
Even when pushing on light fuel? Wow. You wouldn't expect it, but... You'd already see weaving before even a banker lap. Desperately trying to get heat, and then drivers are directly behind each other, which in these much more aero-sensitive cars compared to the GT3s is much less optimal, and everyone is just running around full speed because they don't want to slow down and lose more heat.
Well, here we go then. First of the flying laps air quotes. You can still see Albert Preem there trying to still build heat in the tyres. Whatever times are set here, these are not representative unless someone has a horrific string of invalidations. So just be prepared to have these times completely crumble. For reference, Jeffrey Ross's pole time as it stands for the rest of the session, I'm not sure where I'm going with that sentence, 29.73. Also apparently set a 29.73, so he got a 73.5 as his pole time, and a 73.6 as his last lap on my end, so very consistent driver.
Ooh, someone parked right at the exit there.
Jean-Paul Seaman immediately on the radio asking for race control to have a look at what's going on with... I don't know that driver number off by heart, annoyingly. Nicola De Alessio, who just does a little bit of rallying again. Unfortunately, that is going to be dragging a little bit of gravel onto the racing line there. Thankfully, I think all these drivers are going to be taking it patient enough that they'll have a couple of runs around the track and that gravel should be cleaned up, but something to keep in mind.
A bit more than just rallying, it's a full-on Formula Drift in some part.
Oh, and that is a pit lane start immediately offered to Alessio.
Or at least the pressure's off for him. But look on the bright side, he doesn't have to worry too much about qualifying now. He can just sit back, relax, get something to drink and eat.
As that is Nicola De Alessio pulling the car over.
I did see on the map while you were commenting earlier, he was just going slowly through, I think it's what, turn 9, exit of turn 9 to turn 10? For quite a while. I'm not sure what was happening there, but yeah, there's
guys,
cars racing by.
I'm just trying to find this incident, but it's not showing up in any of the logs for some reason. But it looks like he was just sort of in the wrong place at the wrong time in that final sector. And in fact, this is coming up to the last couple of corners, so I'm wondering if this is going to be the incident that we were looking for. But it's all a bit weird because I'm not really sure what's going on.
This is...
Why?
Like, I don't know what this car's doing.
Also, it was also blipping out.
Yeah.
Must have been some sort of hardware issue or something. They tried to get out the way, but then they miss the pit-in exit. Oh, and they have a spin.
Spin another blink. The car's still spinning. And, I mean, yeah, they're on pit entry now, I guess.
And then they
This is weird. Whatever's going on here is weird and I don't like it. Oh, you can't park. I think we found the impeding.
Well then, that's quite a way to manage that, but penalty duly noted. No one got slowed down too much. And number one, I was probably still warming up the tires at least a little, but would have been frustrating all the same.
Like, the times have already dropped by 3 seconds. Just over the last few laps, so the tyres eventually getting some pressure in them and getting some performance in them.
And that's something you just mentioned, pressure, because when the tires are lower pressure, the car actually rests lower, which is beneficial in many ways, because that means the underfloor is working harder. But it also means that when you're riding curbs, the car can be quite a bit more violent. If you lower a car too much, you take it around Zolder, for example. If you ever ask anyone to drive a car set up for something else at Zolder, you see them come out with a spine that seems to be quite a few years older than what they look like. It's not exactly optimal, is it?
Albert Preem has been pipped by Brody Maynard for the provisional pole position. Yeah, this track is fairly smooth, but the sausage curbs around here can be a little bit brutal, so you probably want a bit of play in the car there. But I'm just thinking, like, ideally, especially these GTPs which are so sensitive, you probably just want to keep it on track as much as possible. You don't want to be worrying about the curbs until you get forced onto them willingly or otherwise.
Well, to open up the turns at least, especially in qualifying,
That's
every
a bit
foot matter.
Too open there from Carlos Ponce.
Yeah, it's a bit... We wouldn't really call that rounding the corner, a bit more than just leaving it. First truly competitive time starting to come in now in the low 20s. Only 88 hundredths apart, the top two so far, Gutierrez and Brian.
Yeah, this is really where you want to find performance in the car. Like, your tyres are up to temperature. The fall off isn't massive on them. You will lose a little bit of performance, but the temperature in them is just too valuable. So I think you are just going to stay out. And this is probably where you're going to see the optimal times, but anything set here still definitely in the realms of beatability. Gutierrez, provisional pole by less than a tenth, with Prima, Maynard, Cabanero and Sanchez behind. Two drivers yet to set uptime: Emre Keldar and Nicola D'Alessio, who again has that pit lane start.
I've heard this term thrown around a bit, and I wonder if you think it's happening here. Negative wear. The idea that the fuel wearing off out is more important than the actual tire wear. Do you think any of these drivers will be encountering that? They're just currently waiting, going around, burning off the fuel, waiting until the car's even lighter, then putting in a push lap.
There's definitely an option you have. You need to be going at a decent pace just to build heat, but you could definitely conserve a little bit as just about keeps it in bounds there. Yeah, I could definitely see drivers taking it very easy on the opening laps just until the tyres come up and then try and absolutely send it in later on in the stint. Jean-Paul Seaman has come into the pit lane after setting the pole position time by a quarter of a second, so very good performance there. But I'm wondering if, you can burn off the fuel, but I don't know if you want to do that and get the tyres up temp at the same time. It could be challenging in a small window. A longer run definitely have the ability to do that, though.
Yeah, and just as we say that, as we were saying earlier, oh, nobody will be going for 2 stints. Everyone's just going to go for 14 minutes of straight running. Your pole sitter is now coming in, and is now, or I should say, leaving the pit. Is left the pit, is now having to let countless cars by with tires that are 4 seconds a lap slower, going around for another stint, which is interesting because no one else has done it so far. It's just Seaman on the pole. Does he know something that nobody else does? Does he have the advantage, or is he just going for a risky strategy because he has the confidence he can hold on to pole even with a more traditional 14 minutes of straight running?
Have you set that one good lap? Oh, that is a way of getting heat in the tyres, Seaman, but I'm not sure it does the grip any favours.
Well, as I was saying earlier, Formula Drift. These drivers aren't interested in rally whatsoever. They just want to slide things. Interesting, he decides to continue on. He doesn't reset the car to just get a new set of tires. He's just continuing on.
At this point, if you went out, you'd have 2 or 3 laps left in the session. That is definitely not enough time to build heat in these tyres again. It is a good endurance model, but over a short stint, it does feel a bit worrying. Going out on these cold tyres with next to no performance in them, as we have a look at Sebastian van der Ruwe, who gets into 6th back to Kirkhoven, who just slides through turn 1. A little bit of counter steer on exit there just to catch the car, but you can see how hard they're pushing, trying to find any time they can right now.
No one seems to be able even to touch Jean-Paul Seaman at the moment. It's only him and Gutierrez who has made it into the sub 120 barrier at the moment. And Arshad just invalidated his lap, so will anyone be able to even get them? They're running out of time to get a lap in, let alone keep the tires alive, warm, and fine, because there's no more time to heat up the tires for sure.
I'm just wondering about something you said about the negative, where obviously if these drivers have fueled the car for a 14-minute session, they're going to be carrying that fuel with them even over these laps, so I'm thinking maybe to see him short fuel the car, air quotes, just enough to get that flying lap in, and has absolutely blown the doors off everybody. Gets a little bit close to the track edge there. I'm not sure who has the 16 of Casper Hu there in the Red Bull livery. Almost getting the doors blown off.
Yeah, it's one of the several GTPs doing some rally cross Formula Drift earlier. What that was what an exit of turn 9, I believe.
Exit 10.
The server seems to have a bit of a
Just wait for that to clear up. 2 minutes left in the session for these GTPs.
Just about now or never, or maybe one more lap for many of these drivers. So you can still see a lot of them seem to only have some banker laps in. With right at the bottom, you can see that there's a couple 5.7 seconds off from Elwood. Do you think that that's still from them warming up their tires, and they're still deciding to do the almost negative wear strat of getting everything fully up to temp, burning off fuel?
That has been out for the entire session. So presumably that just hasn't set a valid lap time, or is choosing not to set a valid lap time.
Now or never for them, I guess. It's last minute now, so if you have to cross the pits, only if you're a good chunk through your current lap. Times are starting to come in, though. We have Caminero as well joining the sub 120, going ahead of Gutierrez. Still, no one can touch Jean-Paul Seaman.
Monty improves but can't find a position further up, and actually gets beaten by Ponce by 0.02 of a second there. Stegeman improves up to P10. I'll be happy with that one. Doing all rounds.
It seems everyone was waiting for the last possible minute just to get their laps in, trying to get their tires as high up to temp as possible. Because you see all the times are coming in now, and all of a sudden the gaps from top of the grid to the bottom have become noticeably smaller.
On board with Eli Caballero with 1 corner to go and a big slide there through turn 10. Comes to the line, needs to find 1/4 of a second, and can't find enough of it and actually gets pipped out by Samir Ashad, who comes with a flying lap, comes in to take second place, and I think got there just enough time that he actually set one more lap, because he's been beaten by Maximilian Mayer, who gets within 7/10 of our pole sitter, but Jean-Paul Seaman's still in charge of this race as it stands. Not sure if any of those drivers took the checkered flag, so we'll see how they come across. Brody Maynard will definitely be taking the checkers here.
I think Ashad just barely crossed the line to get one more lap in. It's a question of will he be able to set a lap that's at least a tenth or 2/10 faster to try and take pole. Can't tell if he's pushing or he's going quite slowly. None of his sector times seem to be convincing, so it may be that he's just coming in. Yeah. He doesn't seem to be pushing this lap time, so I think he's just coming in now for in-lap.
Lot of orange on the time, and Ben Grenveld will improve up to 15th. Gutierrez, Samad, Gutierrez, Ashad, and Varley still have times to set. Gutierrez gets a purple final sector on the last lap. Can't do anything with it though. Ashad comes through, takes third place. Almost got a collision there on the exit of the corner. Grenveld, I think, should be done.
So Ashad did actually improve on that final lap, but only by half a hundredth, which wasn't enough to make a difference in any way, but does protect his position a little bit if anyone was saying a qualifying lap, which no one seems to have done. But Ben's still out there. Seems to be setting a personal best in the first sector so far, but
he's got his time out in 5 seconds, so I'm not sure what the plan here is.
Well, it was worth the attempt at the very least. Maybe just some practice a little bit more just before you get into the race. Feel the track one more time.
But
that's qualifying done. Those are your positions.
Get the full qualifying order for you in a moment. We're having a look at the Red Bull of the Red Bull Ring. It is definitely a statement to just have a giant iron bull around your racetrack. Either way, go through your GT3s, excuse me, first of all, with Jeffrey Ross on pole, with Vincent Osmonds and Daniel Morphy for Red Eagle Racing in second and third. Alex Ott for the Dutch League Racing team will start in fourth, ahead of Adam Jarvis, the Span Crewing position, and Gregory Kohler. Ricardo River for Aether Racing team start in seventh, ahead of Jose Villarejo. Not sure what's going with the name there for Go Esports. It's Vincent Van der Millbrook and have a Dutch Race lockout. Bram Cran will start in 11th for Reader Esports Racing team. As Andy interrupts me.
The race does not start on the green flag. The race will start when your class leader goes within the start zone. We ask the GT3 pole sitter, which is Jeffrey Ross, congratulations, to leave somewhere between roughly a 10 to 15 second gap to the hypercar field before the start of your race. And as an information to mainly the GTP, but possibly also the GT3s.
I always assumed I could hear Andy on the broadcast. That's really annoying. So Bram Khan starts 11th, Senna Bakoven starts in P12 ahead of Velocity Racing, ahead of Kevin Kulpers and Sander de Boa for your esports racing team. Jesus Jimenez for Go Esports will start in 15th, with Melvin Gack and Quentin Bosi for Drachenheim Racing team starting 16th and 17th. Tieran Schulten will start 18th for Dutch League Racing, ahead of Joao Medeiros for Drachenheim and Goin Mulkamp in 20th for Dutch League Racing as well. Matteo Lemery will start 25th for Drachenheim, with Jack Reed for Reed Racing, and Oriel Falk, Spanking position driver, not setting a time and will be shotgun on the field. Cleo, would you like to take the GTPs?
With pleasure. Interestingly, in first we got Jean-Paul Seaman with that interesting only going halfway through the session and getting pole position by some advanced strategy, this or that. Second, we got Maximilian Mayer with the Jen Brothers competition, only 600ths behind. Third, we have Samir Ashad improving the time at the end, not quite enough to get on the first row, unfortunately, but holding on to third with the Ether Racing team. And then we have 4 Go Esports drivers in a row: Eloy, Alvaro, Sergio, and Juanzo, probably pronouncing that wrong, excuse me, all in a row, locking out the, that is third and parts of the second and fourth row. Next we have Sebastian Van Dien in the Clogged Pipes Racing team, Brody Manyard next in ninth in Antisol Racing, Albert Priem with Dutch League Racing, Rupert Stiegman with being a privateer, the first privateer, highest placed privateer in this qualifying session, Daniel Ronick in the PCF Racing, Ayrton Kokoven, excuse me, with Unlucky Luck Racing, Piet Prins with Dutch League Racing and his teammate right behind, Ben Groneveld in also Dutch League Racing, Leon Elwat with the Clogged Pipes Racing team, Carls Ponce, another privateer, that's in 17th, Niccolo Monti in DSP Esports Racing, Casper Hugh, the final privateer, and in 20th and final place, Jani Kokkonen with Pelissinilt Racing Team. Right of only 2 seconds across the entire field, and with 2 remaining drivers, excuse me, right at the bottom, 21st Amir Kimildar with no time, DLR and SimLab team, and the final privateer, Nicolo, right at the bottom, number 44. Interesting. Any of the drivers at set time, only 2 seconds apart. Even the top 19, a second and a half apart. It's a very competitive field today.
Just for bookkeeping, Nicola De Lacia will be starting this race from the pit lane after a pitting incident in qualifying. But yeah, it's a very competitive field, at least in the qualifying session. Well, that's one thing to set times in an open track, but in about 30 seconds, they're not going to have an open track. They're going to have a very busy one because we're going to throw some GT3s in with the hypercars and see how we do. Just a warm-up session just to get everyone. Well, it's my favourite thing is make sure I've got the race setup loaded. I've done it twice where I've entered a race with a qualifying setup. One of them was an oval race and you are forced to take full fuel, so it didn't go too badly for me, but the other one was a bit of a disaster.
The first few laps when you take a qualifying setup isn't too bad because it just feels like, oh, look how fast I am. And then next thing you know, you're in the pits and the car handles not so well. That's the problem, though. But before that, it feels like, oh, this is not even a mistake at all. We should have just been using this for the race. And then next thing you know, you finally understand why cars are set up a little differently when they're going for 1 lap quickly or 60, 70, 80 laps quickly.
The stuff does tend to get away from you very quickly. You've put a lot of faith in the tyres, and their faith is rewarded by their tyres getting set to scorching temperatures and presumably then giving you no grip afterwards. 45 cars on this grid, sat behind the Porsche Pace safety car, which should bring the cars around for a full lap of warm-up, which the hypercars will be very thankful for. And then it is a full send into turn 1. Start zone is those 2 white lines you can see on your screen there, I believe, so the driver will be able to go between those lines. And then it's just in turn 1 and hope you're the first car into turn 1 on the inside.
Thankfully for Seaman, for him at least, he's on the inside line. He got pole, so he gets to hold the inside, which around here is pretty much hands down better, the best line for overtaking or defending at the very least around turn 1. Unless Maximilian can make a daring move at the start of the race with a fantastic start, but it's hard to say if he'll...
Oh, Daniel Rudek! Daniel Rudek has crashed. Daniel Rudek is missing his front bumper, and you can see it there.
Hopefully the GT cars don't mind the toy in the background. Trying to get up his tires. So what happened? Oh, he just completely lost it.
What? I am so confused.
You don't call them... I mean, drivers always talk about how hard these things are controlled with cold tires, and that's a very good example of that. Trying to... just barely swerving just the tiniest bit, and the car immediately snaps into the wall.
So I'm a bit worried now, because I'm not sure what iRacing's ruling on this is as to whether he needs to get the position back or not. So we might see the fields have a few issues trying to let a car through here.
To my knowledge, at the very least, yeah, you can see he's already sitting at the back. If you spend enough time not passing someone and you're holding still, the game will just simply wave everyone else by until the crashed car simply goes to the back of the longest line, or back of the inside or outside line.
Well, that does shake up the field a little bit, but up front it is still Jean-Paul Seaman alongside Maximilian Meyer. I was about to say in front of, not quite true, but I think Seaman would like that to be the case.
You see they're still swerving violently, probably dragging the brakes even through these turns, just praying for any sort of temperature in these tires. I presume he's going to pit before the race even starts to get that damage fixed, because quite importantly, these cars have a front end for a fairly important reason of downforce, because without it, they're not really going anywhere.
Definitely off-pit strategy, which we will mention when we get to the race itself, but for now we focus on the race start. GT3s have a bit of buffer to the next car, as the safety car will come through turn 9, take the sharp right-hander into the pit lane, excuse me, leaving Jean-Paul Seaman to lead the field on the limiter. And we'll slowly march the field along the front stretch, trying to find the start zone. You can see the field bunching up behind, very tight pack. They'll show the green flag. Seaman will hit the start zone, we'll get a clean launch, pull straight in front, and we are racing at the Red Bull Ring. And it's going to be an absolute mess for about 6th position as they go 3 wide behind. Can't keep it together, huge pile up in the back, carbon fibre flying everywhere. Leon Benelmo just about gets the worst of it.
Look at him going 4 wide at the tail there, maybe. GT starting now.
It will be Ross leading the field, swerves to take the outside, race control investigating that turn 1 incident. Oh, it's a pile up in turn 3 still. Someone's wrecked in the pit lane. What is going on? Everyone's lost their mind. It's 4 wide into turn 1. I have no idea what's going on. Oh my word.
Seems people forgot where the brake pedal were at some points. Leaders have held their position, which is important for them at least. No real big oh, and there's massive, oh my goodness. The 44, as I was just saying, forgets where people forgetting where their brakes are. Oh, you can see turn 3 there. Oh, and there's a spin out from the, oh my goodness.
Gutierrez just about has the world's most smallest incident as Sholton was running
3 wide into turn 5. Oh no, this can only end one way. That Ferrari's lucky to be alive.
Yeah, no, someone's not doing too well. It's the car behind Sholton. Bram Cran, I believe, in the yellow car there, just about backs out and gets away with it. So instant in turn 1 and turn 3 for the GTPs. Turn 1 and so has a car coming out of nowhere in turn 3 for the GT3s. Very dramatic start to this race, as we'll see what happened with this hypercar, I believe. Dive bombing the outside. Nicola Di Alessio, who had that pit lane start, remember, comes out into the middle of the pack, tries to find the braking point, and I don't know what your plan is. Like, where are you going?
I think he genuinely lost track of where the braking point was. It looks like, because he was past the 100, oh, and there's an Audi missing its teeth. Went past the 100, then realized he had to brake, swerved to the left, realizing his mistake, and didn't hit anyone, but nearly ended his race right then and there, not making his life any easier.
Bram Cran and Melvin Gack have got into each other at some point as well. That's already under investigation by race control. So we get the replay of it here. You can see Gack just taking the inside of Cram and just sends him around, not quite. But then Gack takes the evasive line, as we say, is, oh, Cram is now backwards on the track.
Andy, please check.
Seems that yellow Ferrari has not had an easy life so far. And you can see this almost 3 wide move that happened.
Cran going around the outside, just gets tagged in the rear, and at that point, it's a very unforgiving corner to make contact with unless you're willing to go off track. Cran gets looped, and race control having to investigate.
The gap from first to second, interestingly, in GT3 Pro is only 0.3 now. Seems, compared to the GTP field where Seaman already has a second gap, well over a second gap, GT3, Jeffrey, is not pulling away. Vincent seems to have a vengeance of some sort.
Looking for third place between Brody Maynard, who just about sends it up the inside. Can't quite hold. No, does have the run on Carlos Ponce. Will pull away a little bit there with Lionel out behind, just losing out a little bit. Yannick Hakkinen just a little bit further up the track. There's a bit of a lock up there, as that's going to spit Carlos Ponce out off the track. Let's go towards GT3 Pro field. Vincent van der Mulbrook in a dogfight with Ricardo River. There's a bit of a pile up there as the DLR cars get into each other a little bit. Will make out okay, but Vincent van der Mulbrook falling back a little bit more than he would have perhaps wanted to. So the GTPs, solo GTP, excuse me, that is Albert Preem comes charging through.
And the gravel on the outside of that turn as well, which again is not really grip limited at that point, but it seems like half the track is covered in gravel and the other half is covered in carbon fiber from that start.
Look at Sonoma Coven.
And it's I can't tell what's happened to so many people, but everyone's making mistakes. No one can keep the car on the great stuff, it seems.
Exciting having an issue. Casper, who I thought got loose there, but no, that's just the turn 3 doing turn 3 things, who trying to defend second place in GCPM category from Yannick Hakkinen. As Hakkinen maybe looks to the inside, throws a small dummy just to show up in Casper Who's mirror.
Do you think he's trying to set up for turn 1, just trying to get close? As we pull away to see Vincent, again, trying to make a move.
So Vincent van der Mulbrook is going to stay positioned for now as Bramkran gets a 5-second time penalty for not leaving space for one of those second lap incidents.
It's 2 of them. Second incident. They got 2 incidents in a row with 2 5-second penalties. Oof.
Stewart's not happy with Bramkran's racing and have said, no, please address your driving standards. 10 seconds collective there for Bramkran, who's not going to be too happy.
Yeah, I think, guys, that's those 2 incidents that we saw a couple of moments ago with Bramkran on the outside just pinching. I think it was a dragline racing car in both occasions, just pinching into the apex.
Melvin Gack, yeah. Go further around the field. Jeffrey Ross still leads the GT3 Pro category. With
be the next lap or 2 that we get the leading GTP cars, not just the lapped ones, about to hit the GT traffic. So before you can even ask for things to calm down, you could see another car spinning out in the penultimate turn there. It was one of the Corvettes.
I think that was Sonoma Coven. Looks like no further damage to that car, just unfortunate. Yeah, just loses it mid-corner by the looks of it as we go for another replay. Just slight twitch in the middle of the corner, and that is a terrible place to have a moment, because that is such a fast and demanding corner that if you do lose the grip, there's no way really for the car to recover that grip, and yeah, loops the car. Everyone else does a good job of getting around unscathed. But we'll have to drive off with that.
Now here comes the even scarier bit. GTP traffic just about to catch, and now in turn 3, the leader. Ooh, and this big move up from the inside. Double overtake from that guy, and then a punt from behind it looks like. Got bumps.
Peter Preens, I think, got the worst of that, leading GT3 AM currently. Not technically racing the cars around, but wants to get through as much as possible, try to get up the field as Jean-Paul Seaman again hits GT3 traffic. Which looks like they're mostly playing nicely. Seaman's done this before, can get through these cars very efficiently, and usually doesn't cause too much drama either, so should be okay for the most part. You can see that's Austin van der Heuvel, teammates. Oh, sorry, not teammates. I thought van der Heuvel was part of the Dutch League Racing for some reason. Nope. Clog Pipes racing driver. Also manages to get through the traffic in probably one of the more difficult parts, the sections like turn 6 through 8. You can get through GTPs there, but you really don't want to, because Van der Mulbrook trying to challenge. Doesn't look like this one's for position, but so it'll be an AM driver he's taking the inside away from, but does manage to get it sent through. pulls away clean.
Been quite a few laps trying to get past that car, it looks like, and even then, now that he's gone past it, the Ferrari now behind with a massive tow. Even if it's another class, going to try and make another move back, maybe.
Quick look at Leon Elwout.
From the start? No, this is not from the start. That was just the 77 exiting after presumably a penalty or some sort of damage.
So these cars are fuel reduced in this series. 22 to 25 minutes. Oh,
I was just going to
hello,
say,
George.
we have had a couple of drivers come into the pits now. It's not many, but it is a couple of them. So I think some of these guys have just realised it's a marginal two-stop around here anyway, or it has been in the past, so you're able to pit a little bit earlier or a little bit later if you want to. So I think maybe some of these guys just thinking, I'm going to get into the pits, get out of the traffic, get some clean air, and then you don't have to try and get through the traffic with everyone else, which is we're seeing on screen now is always a sketchy bit of a race.
Yeah, I was going to give my usual spiel about pit strategy. 22 to 25 minutes you can normally go on a tank of fuel around here. Has been done on one stop before in the GT3s, which are normally better on fuel. But if you pit now, and you do a little bit of fuel save in the GTPs, you can normally get away with it if you pit, as Leon Elwout gets a 20 seconds time penalty for causing a collision. But yeah, normally, strategy-wise, you'll go as long as you can. Everyone will come in about the 24-minute mark, depending on where they are on the track. They'll come in around 48 minutes as well, and then it's just a mad dash to the end as Vincent Van der Mulbrook is going to end up in the middle of four wide, gets stuck to that yellow Ferrari again. There'll still be three as they come in through turn 3. It's a slight bit of trading paint there, but everyone managed to get through unscathed.
You just think there's a stock car racing the way they're driving. My. There's just no nothing being given. You don't see that every day. 4 wide into turn 2 at Spielberg.
I mean, no, they were 4 wide through turn 2. The numbered turn 2, and then did manage to get 3 wide before they had to make the entry of turn 3, but very dramatic racing. Ayrton Koikoven and Juanto Vale. Nope, I misread that completely. Sander Bauer, I believe, is the yellow Ferrari. Who is in the AM category. And is currently holding up some of the pro drivers. I say holding up, definitely has the pace on them right now, but yeah, it can be frustrating if you're stuck behind a car that you can't really overtake for any meaningful position. You just have to get past, because they are going to slow you down if you are faster than them.
I still find it so interesting. That second place GT in the GT3 Pros category has not been within more than a second to the lead. As we see, who is Brody making a move down the inside. Will he make it stick? Not quite. He's not going to be able to get the run out to the exit. He may try and do something now into turn 3 as he gets the toes, passing more traffic. It seems never ending for some of these drivers.
Ben Grunwald, the lead car in this battle, will go to the outside, get sent up the inside by Maynard, who will get given more than enough room, but will he have the run on exit? Looks like Grunwald's... Oh, the traffic is going to be a factor as well. They go 3 wide through the corner. Maynard sticks it down the inside again, gets it in deep, clears the Dutch League Racing driver as a car in the gravel in the background. But it looks like Maynard's just taken P4.
Very deep move there from Maynard. That was impressive. I was sure he was about to shoot off into the middle of the corner, but no, he made it stick. He made it slow down. Very impressively well done.
And immediately Maynard off into the distance. Now with the stack of 3 GT3s we've been following, which might be a window of opportunity for the second Dutch League Racing car, Tiemann Scholten, who's ahead of Vincent Van der Mulbrook, again another AM driver. So this front 2 are AM category, the third car in line there, Pro. And it's going to be teammate on teammate action as Van der Mulbrook takes the inside from Scholten.
I can only imagine how frustrated it would be for him to watch his teammate try and drive by him when he's trying to get the car ahead, but sometimes
Fairly
you have to
polite
know to
move
relent.
between teammates though, as they get it sorted, trying to close up.
Interestingly, if you see the statistics, Jack Reed up 10 positions after failing to qualify, if memory serves, or just never getting a good qualifying lap in.
I think struggled to get a good time, but Plus 10 on the start, always very handy. Alvaro Gutierrez gets on the radio.
It's worth noting, guys, with Daily Maynard as well. He started on what would be points-wise and position-wise pole position in GTP AM, and got caught up in an incident on lap 1 that sent him to the back of the field. He's already back up to 4th. We've seen a couple of those moves, so keep your eyes on Brody. I expect him to move up a little bit further and get towards the front of the field by the end of the race.
Alvaro Gutierrez got on the radio to complain about GT3 driver Daniel Morphy. Not sure what that was about, but
Too many instances to keep track of sometimes.
that is a very interesting black flag from race control. That is a drive-through penalty, which race control don't tend to normally give these out in the middle of the race. Drive-through penalty for jump start and causing a collision. 52 of Quentin Bosey.
Was that the one that's lost his nose, or what did he cause a collision?
No, that's in GT3.
Interesting.
So we have a look, currently sat P7 in the GT3 AM category. Will need to come in soon to take that drive-through. Obviously, you can't get service on that drive-through either, so you have to just take that time loss. As we have a look at the Colin Monty, who's fallen a bit off the back of the pack here. Has taken repairs on the first lap. Currently sat a bit far back in the field. Definitely needs a few things to go his way if he wants to make up some positions in this race. Keldar trying to get to the back of Alvaro Gutierrez. That would be for position if you can get that. Just a little bit off at the back right now.
Do you think they're going to be double sending these tires, or do you think they're going to take one tire set for the first pit stop and then splash and dash till the end, no tire?
I'm not sure what the tire strategy. I was never sure about the tire strategy because when I've done sprint races, I like taking 2 because you can take 2 and get fuel typically, and then the last one you don't have enough time to get. You're short stopping anyway, so you're not going to have time. But with the GTP tyre model, I'm not sure. You might be best off leaving your tyres on for the entire way through and taking some of the tyre wear, as it does look like Sander de Boer might be falling back into the clutches of Tiernan Scholten a little bit, having been passed now by the other DLR driver.
Absolute chaos here in the GT3 AM.
Oh, dangerous looking move there for Sander de Boer. Will just about keep the position.
It's interesting, the car in front, that the
GTP's on the grass.
Called grass in the pass for nothing. Jeez.
Yeah, hi Andy. I don't know if you're watching this stream, but I'd like to report an incident to race control. That was wild. Oh. Still battling the GTPs, but
GTP rudely came in, decided to make a pass, but it's interesting how that McLaren in front of that battle seems to be going on since the green flag fell. Not even in the same class, just fighting for the same piece of tarmac.
I've just noticed Daniel Morphy's paint scheme. Can we go back a second? Daniel Morphy is driving a Lamborghini in this race and has decided to go for some Aston Martin colours on the car instead.
I did see a BMW and GTP with a white Red Bull livery as well. I was deciding if I wanted to point it out, but it's taste is a subjective thing.
Yes. I can't complain. I drove an Aston Martin Toyota Camry in the NASCAR Cup Series for a while as well, but either way, Sander de Boer and Tiernan Scholten still going at it. Jose Villarejo still leads the category though for the GT3 drivers by about 9.5 seconds as it stands currently, as Carlos Ponce and Ruben Stegemann have found each other on track again. GTP AM and Pro split. Some issues as a couple drivers under investigation for collision, as we see Ruben Stegemann getting past the 75.
Bears have been very brave on the brakes for some of these overtakes, I gotta say. A lot of these moves looks like, oh, they're gonna lock up the tires and go shooting off, but no. They chuck it down the inside and just stops. That's part of the power of those heavy downforce machines. No ABS, but just a committed left foot.
Very confident drivers we see here. Jose Hualmedios, ahead of Melvin Gacka, ahead of Cinema Coven, ahead of Mick Syon, all under a blanket with a hypercar trying to get around them. As, oh, looks like Mulligan try and take the inside, can't quite get it there, takes a little bit of the gravel next, and that's going to leave the window open for Koven, try and stick his nose in, can't find the gap to do so, and that's going to invite Mick Cyan to take the inside back, can't get the car in either, they'll stick single file through turn 6, and that should split them up enough where they should at least be good until the run into turn 1, and then the gloves might come off again as, oh, that is a car sideways on track, I think that might have been Medeiros. No, that was, yes.
Interesting how the NSX threatened 3 wide there for a second. Not really a turn you overtake at, but they threatened it.
If you have the run, you might as well have a look. Unfortunately, this wasn't quite there, but yet, once again, returning to the ways of the Formula Drift. As Van der Heuvel looking down the inside of
That
turn
Porsche's been making
5.
a lot of moves, looks like.
It's going to be a little bit rubbing his racing there between the Go Esports car. I can't quite tell who that is. Oh, and a little bit of bump drafting as well, and that's going to force the 53 out wide as well. Melvin Geck now under pressure. Van der Heuvel is chasing Sergio Sanchez, gets up the inside and makes the pass.
That looks like his teammate right behind him trying to do the same thing now into turn 4.
That would be Juan. No, that's not Ovale. Either way, Sanchez definitely doesn't want them past because as soon as they do, they're going to lose contact with the car they're actually trying to race. As, ooh, Lionel that's just found themselves in a very bad position. There's so many cars in such a small amount of track. You can see them all there.
There's only
3 cars abreast. Lionel Wout's the back car of this battle that's now being separated just because of where the traffic falls.
And while all this is happening, we're coming up to the pit window, interestingly. In the next 5-ish minutes, we should start to see quite a few pit stops as we see Maynard, who had that horrible start in the GT Am class, making a move past that Red Bull-sponsored BMW, interestingly, but it's working.
Casper, who I believe would be the car there.
I can only imagine
But yeah.
how frustrated he would be, getting spun out at the start, but then somehow being one of the fastest drivers out there. As you see, and these two still fighting.
Koven and Gutierrez side by side coming through up the hill into turn 3, and looks like Koven's got that one sorted. Gutierrez forced to stay behind, and Emmerich Kemeldar chasing them down as well there. That third car in line.
Apologies guys, we missed this move. This is for the lead in GT3 Pro, so Vincent Ossel goes to the front of the field ahead of Jeffrey Ross with this move on the brakes into turn 3.
He's been sizing up that move for practically the whole race. I remember he's been the relative sheet showed him being no further than 9/10 behind the entire stint. He finally got that done.
So Ossoms will lead Ross into the pit window. That's the question of when do you go, because presumably Ossoms being the second car in line for most of the run so far will have that little bit of fuel advantage. Might be enough to go a little bit further in the run, and then you can save on that final stop, which will just be a splash and go for basically everybody.
That is a very good question, though. Who has been saving and who's been going flat out? Because if you save, as you've mentioned before, some of these GT cars have been able to do a one-stop in the past, or at the very least reduce the amount of laps you need to take out in the final stop. Do you think some of these drivers who seem to be off the pace, like Maximilian second in GTP, do you think he's just saving, biding his time, or is it actually just pace?
GTPs, I don't know if the one-stop is possible. Which is going to be unfortunate if they are trying it, but they tend to be a lot more aggressive in terms of their usage. So it's generally a lot harder for them to save fuels because you normally are the one on the attack. You're not letting cars pass like the GT3s often are. But if you're just coasting around, you can go around and... oh, that is another drive-through penalty issued by race control. Nicola Monti, who is sat plumb last of the active drivers right now. Black flag drive-through penalty for causing a collision.
As we see some of the GT cars starting to come in for their first pit stop, that was Ricardo Riva, I think I saw, and Alex.
I don't see River. Oh, no, River just takes... It is a long pit entry here, as we see the awkward pit entry around the Red Bull Ring, where you have to swing the car through the racing line, then immediately tug it to the right even more to make that entry, and then obviously a short shoot to the line.
Guys, this is Brody Maynard on that recovery drive we spoke about. He's now up to P3. Someone get Casper Hu, and this is down the inside for Brody Maynard on Yanni Kakkonen, and moves back up into P2 in GTP AM.
And only has 5 seconds to hunt down Pete Preens as well. Looking very promising there for Maynard. Obviously, though, has 2 pit cycles to work through yet. Go further up the field onto Artem Kokoven and Alvaro Gutierrez as they fight over 8th place before they come into the pits. Presumably they might be fighting into the pits as well, as Gutierrez can't get the car turned on a deep entry now. It invites Kemeldar into the fight as well. See there, that darker green car. Trying to get it on the outside, won't be able to make that one stick. And presumably, I think this is where they're all trying to filter through the pit lane. So this is going to be very busy here, as all these cars are going to try and get into a very small bit of track at the same time. It's going to get very dangerous. Go further into the GT3s as Quentin Bosey looks down the back of Ricardo River. Call it someone's boxing.
Boxing in?
I was talking about that earlier, though, into turn 4. Oh. More people saying that they're boxing. You can see most people seem to be making 18 laps, but I was saying that earlier, into turn 4, it was, I think you said it was Gutierrez, wasn't quite able to get the car slowed down, just overshot, had that snap oversteer he had to correct. But most people have been able to control that when they're trying to make the move, but Gutierrez showing an example of what not to do when you're trying to make that move down the inside.
See there, Ruben Stegemann leads the drivers for GTP Pro, that have pitted. As Aaron Kokoven leads this train of GTPs that stays out. See, all the GT3 AM drivers have now pitted. GT3 Pro going a little longer. Stegemann has Casper Hu chasing there, who has not stopped. See, performance looks about even between the tyres. Even if they're called off in the pit lane a bit, I imagine they'll be keeping the same form for the race, excuse me. Adam Jarvis, normally a driver that likes to go deep on the fuel strategy, coming in now. So presumably conceding that yes, this is going to be a 2-stop race. You can see the orange car there dive into the pit lane as these GTPs stay out. And this is surprising to me. So I thought these cars would be coming in now. And I'm wondering, can they actually go halfway?
That's interesting. It's different. I mean, you'd have to lift and coast quite a bit, which would make you vulnerable around a this where seems to lose and connection seems to be fine again. It's an interesting question because this is a track that requires a lot of top end speed. And if you're lifting it, you sacrifice a lot of that top end. But that also means you do save the tires quite a bit without putting all that pressure on braking. So conceivably it's possible, but maybe that's what Vincent is doing that just took first. Seems, oh, and just as I say, that second place, the Mustang pit, maybe he spent all that time behind the Mustang, purposely not passing him, just lifting and coasting, using that draft. But maybe trying to go for that one-stop solution.
You would need to go slightly less than half distance to make it on fuels, because we had that full formation lap, which will take a fair bit out of your tank.
I know, guys, that we had an IMSA race here a couple of seasons ago, so I'm opening round. And even though I don't think we really had anybody make the one-stop work that season, even though we have had it work in the past, what a lot of guys did was sit behind another car, like we just mentioned Vincent Osson's doing, sitting behind another car, and you save so much fuel that even though you can't do a one-stop, the amount of fuel that you save means your pit stop was so much shorter than they would otherwise be, because you need to top up the tank to full, essentially. But you've got less distance, less fuel that needs to go in the tank to get you there, which means your pit stop can be several seconds shorter, which is part of the reason why we've seen that 6-second advantage in GT3 Pro now.
So maybe that
has pulled away a fair bit, and that's looking a little bit spicy still, as Kokoven, Gutierrez, Kemeldar still going at each other's throats.
And it looks like the leader, overall leader, just has come into the pits now. Was just about to say, wondering when he will come in, since it seems all the GTPs are now in. But finally, overall leader in the pits, as well as second place car.
So Jean-Paul Siemens in. And I'm just looking at the time, there's 31 minutes and change left in this race. Have they gone far enough? Can they save enough fuel? And can a lot of these drivers make a one-stopper work around here? It will definitely be faster.
So,
But you also need to make sure you make the checkered flag.
part of the problem is, when will you take the checkered flag? If you take it with, because a lot of the time, this is a big problem with these timed endurance races instead of lapped ones. Sometimes you can accidentally go a lap longer than you want to, and all of a sudden your race strategy goes out the window. You have to pit on the final lap so you don't, well, run out of fuel. So part of it is that they're going to be trying to calculate when they're going to take the final lap, the leader, specifically Seaman, and if it's going to be worth it to try and lift and coast there, or should he just go flat out and take a splash and dash right near the end.
Cameron Mullenkamp, I think, is going to get in a spot of bother here, and it might have been a bigger spot of bother. I'd just like to stick with this replay. Have a GTP down the inside, turn 6. Mullenkamp gets on the marbles, gets spun.
Letting it roll into the racing line's a bit dangerous. Oh, that's not what you want to do. And you can see a oh, that's a predictable result.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Brody Maynard, you can see they're just escaping the incident. As,
Brody was the one that hit him, unfortunately, it seems.
No, Brody went around, but then unfortunately ended up in the gravel trying to... unfortunately, kind of messed up the rhythm there and ends up getting off track.
Brody, not getting very lucky this race, is he?
No, but still making the best of what he has.
There's still drivers in the GTP field, or just as I say that, who hasn't pit yet, and finally, the final cars in GTP Pro who haven't pitted just did this lap, as Amir and several others. Well, it looks like Emery's still going around. That could be a massive advantage.
Is definitely able to make this on a one-stopper. There is no doubt. If he is going to make half race distance easily, obviously we'll have more fuel available because he doesn't have to do an outlap.
And Steegman seems to have gone.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in there about Ruben Stegeman, who did that early stop, so he's definitely on the two-stop strategy. But I think it was Ruben or one of Ruben's teammates that we saw do this last week. It might have been Leon last week who did the first stop, sort of a couple of laps, if not just one lap into the race, and has come out with a massive advantage because they've got out of all that battling, they've got out of the GT3 traffic as well. I think it was Ruben who actually said came in when the GTP started to hit the traffic, and he's now 3 seconds ahead of Max Meyer, who was sort of in that lead group at the race. So I'm not sure how he's managed to pull this one off, but he's massively gained an advantage here, provided that the rest of the field also have to make one more stop.
Problem is now he needs to take on a lot more fuel in the second stop now. Everyone else has seemed to do a splash and dash. So is the time gain worth it, or will it end up going against him in favor? But he did avoid all that traffic, like you said, so only time will tell for that second place car.
Stegeman does have a 4.5 second gap to work with so far. Obviously that can ebb and flow over the stint. But yeah.
I do find it interesting that Seaman is so far down after his pit stop. Did something go wrong there?
Have a look at the pit time for Jean-Paul Seaman. It was...
Yeah, guys, I'm just looking at that. It looks like he's done 2 stops. On my tracker, I'm showing him through the pit lane twice.
I see him as having spent 1 minute 20 in the pit lane. I'm not sure what's going on there.
I've got 2 entries and 2 exits on me. You know, it only says 1 stop on the screen, so I'm wondering if he came through the pits to serve a speeding penalty or something. I don't know if there's someone in race control who could fill us in.
That is a weird one.
But disaster for Seaman. He was dominating his class and the entire category so far, and now he's completely lost it. Now I'm going to have to collect his way through as much of the field as he can before the race is over, but there's countless cars in front of him that he's going to have to make moves by. And at the same time, he may have to start lifting as well to try and save fuel to the end, which is a difficult
The good
combo.
news... up. Oh, hello, Jean-Paul Seaman. Please don't get into the back of Alvaro Gutierrez. That is the car he is racing, very aggressively, I might add, trying to get that position back. But yeah, the good news about spending 40 seconds in the pit lane longer than your rivals is that you don't need to spend 40 seconds less on track. So the fuel might end up working okay, especially if we do think that the one-stopper is on the cards for the GTPs, which it looks like it definitely is. But yeah, Jean-Paul Seaman, a bit of a drop in this early going.
Seems like nobody took tires there. If you look at all the lap times, none of them. Everyone is pretty much in the 22 still. No one's back in the 21s as it was at the start of the season.
Not surprising. We were close to making a one-stop happen at Zolder 2 weeks ago. I can't remember the driver. They came in with the lead, exited with the lead, but unfortunately they took tyres, and those cold tyres are absolutely lethal. Caused a few incidents and ended up further down the order. I can't remember the end result, as 21 of Go and Woolencamp has in fact been handed a 10 seconds penalty for an unsafe rejoining, causing a collision.
I do wonder, what if Seaman did take he got a penalty and took tires, which is maybe why he spent so much longer compared to everyone else.
Given his times, okay. Van der Roevel, I think Clog Pipe's racing car, dives off camera, trying to get the move down the inside here. Samir Shad. Looks like he's just going to get some gravel. A bit more than a bit of gravel. But
fairly innocent. Fairly innocent compared to what we've seen earlier in the race, though.
And this Jean-Paul Seaman getting very aggressive down the inside, makes it stick, pulls up clean in front of the car. Gutierrez, I believe, who's racing, and pulls away.
I think Seaman may have taken tires. The way he had grip out of that corner,
No.
Really? No tires at all?
GTP tyre model, if he took tyres, they would be cold tyres and he would be dying.
I'm saying maybe only like a left side tires, only right side tires, so it's...
No, if it was offset, it'd be even worse, because, again, the cold tyres in this current tyre model have no grip to them whatsoever. You have to baby them around the track to get them up to temperature.
That's interesting.
Leader Ruben Stegemann with a spin in turn 4, or turn 5, I believe it actually is.
I think just caught up to the back of the GT3 at a bad time, took an emergency manoeuvre. I think got on the brakes a bit too hard to try and stop the car and ended up looping it. You can see just the closing speed here. I'm not sure what that is in the GT3. Means they go behind the hill, conveniently out of sight. Yeah, you can just see them close up there, and yeah, Stegman just loses the car.
I think that tire wear is starting to get to some people. Some people almost wishing they took the fresh tires.
I think the worst thing...
At the same time, when you take those fresh tires, you're going to regret ever taking them because of the coldness of them.
I think the worst thing for Ruben on that one was, though, guys, that was his in-lap anyway, to do his final stop to make it to the end of the race. So a costly error, which he'll be kicking himself for. His teammate also made his pit stop a few moments ago. That was Leon Van Elwart, who's been into the pit lane and is now back out on track, but obviously a little bit further down. I think they got caught up in a lap 1 incident of some description.
Based on the fact they pitted 5 laps into the first stint, I think you're right. Just over halfway in this race, then 22 minutes and change to go in the race, as Maya and Ashad find themselves fighting now for the lead on track. They still need to pit. The only driver that drives that probably don't, Aiden Kokova and Ruben Stegemann, who are further adrift in the field, as Jean-Paul Seaman's been sent for a ride.
Ooh.
Tagged in the rear by a GT3.
It almost looks like the GT3 was trying to overtake Seaman. I mean, brave attempt. Gotta commemorate the effort, but I don't think race control will be too happy about it.
No. Freddie Maynard trying to chase down Yannick Hakkinen. And I'm hesitating because I want to talk about something, but I think Maynard's going to stop me because he's going to have a look down the inside, not going to stick the nose in.
Probably going to have a look into turn 1 here, if he gets a good exit out of the final turn here.
Well, Oh, this is close, actually.
Good enough, I'd assume. Maybe try and go for a dummy to scare off the car in second, Kakkonen.
But the good news about the Red Bull Ring is if you don't get turn 1, you can clip through, go up the gears, you can see the speed building in the bottom right there. Get behind in the draft, go faster and faster and faster, and the gap not really diminishing as much as you'd hope. You're going to set it up the inside anyway. Absolute madness from Bernie Maynard, who makes the move stick, gets past Yannick Kakkonen and is back on the charge to first place.
With 2/10 gap, that is not an easy move around the ring. It is a very, very brake demanding track, and trying to make extra 2/10 under braking on the inside.
Oh no! Well, Yannick Kakkonen can at least thank himself that he got overtaken before that happened, but unfortunately Yannick Kakkonen just given us a place to Ayrton Kokoven after that incident, and Rune Stegeman now hounding for position as well. Team in Scholten trying to drive off, held down there, Senna Kokoven, I believe that is.
Seems Maynard's luck is finally starting to turn around after a horrible start. First half of the race entirely was just not going his way, but now some forgiveness for him.
Sebastian Van der Heuvel has the advantage over Eloy Carniero and Sergio Sanchez. Sanchez a bit further afield. Can't tell how that car behind is. Either way, Van der Heuvel has the advantage into turn 4 by some margin. It should be safe for now.
23 laps on those lap by Kimmeldar. That's really interesting how... Yeah, and only 22 seconds on the pits. He has if his pace was on point, maybe set up the entire car to be fuel efficient, and that's why he doesn't have the pace. But so far, his strategy is by far the best of anyone in the field. Fastest pits and longest stints, but on track, not so much.
Have a look at Ruben.
This seems to be the lap after that incident from the blue course.
Yes.
Just getting by. No, nothing crazy. Just casually getting past after a bad exit from turn 1. It probably got slowed down, since iRacing doesn't like you very much if you go that far out wide.
So Van der Heuvel's still trying to get away from Eloy Caballero. Puts another GT3 between them under braking, and have a clean line through, as Caballero will not. Go further back into the fields. I think was that car in the gravel there?
Didn't look like it, but it's hard to say with all the constant mayhem everywhere.
Jack Reed ahead of Jesus Jimenez. That is Gregory Kohler as well in the Acura, the leader of this pack, who stacks them up badly. Reed's gonna, I think maybe tag the rear. Need to be careful, so Jesus Jimenez is right there as well. Jimenez will look to the inside, trying to make the move, chooses to back away from it, and invites Mick Syon into the conversation as well. Battle for 4th place in the category GT3s. It's going to be round the outside if Jimenez wants to make this work as Reed goes defensive.
Race control, please check car 911 for blue flags with race control, check final corner.
And that's the danger. That's the danger trying to go around the outside. Now that NSX is about to make a move down to turn 4, he's going to lose. He's not going to be able to make up position, but actually lose that position.
Mick Syon gets the inside, trying to roll it around. Can't quite get clear of Jimenez Grandos, but does manage to get the car through in one piece. So Mick Syon will take over P5 there. Meanwhile, Jeffrey Ross defending from Alex Ott.
Looks like Alex is almost trying to go for a dummy there. Again, trying to save fuel behind Jeffrey, do you think? These Mustangs, of course, punching a very big hole in the air compared to a lot of the other GTs.
Not sure. Fuel window is going to be tight for a lot of these drivers. I'm not sure if any GT3s are on a one stop, unfortunately. We'll have to see if the time ticks down if these drivers stay out. Could get a little bit spicy, especially because they don't control when the race ends. That would be currently Maximilian Mayer, who is P1 in the Pro category. So Stegeman looks to get P10 in that class from Ayrton Kokoven.
Quite the brawl this race. It's calmed down a little bit now. Now that I say it, of course, it's going to jinx that as we see a replay of a... Oh, quite the awkward situation there. Porsche trying to overtake on the inside while trying to enter the pits.
Yeah. Crown, I think, caught the car trying to take the pit lane there, and
Yeah, guys, we've got a couple of GT3s coming into the pit lane now. Vincent Ossoms and Daniel Morphy are the first takers, but I think we're going to see a lot of those guys who made that first stop a little bit early into the pit lane now.
so Ossoms pitted 17 laps into the first stint, so did Morphy. Ross and Ott and River all pitted 15 laps into their stint and haven't pitted yet.
So Vincent Ossoms is effectively leading this race because 16 seconds, you can't really have a pit stop within 16 seconds anywhere, let alone for fuel in a GT. So unless Daniel behind can make a move, it's only Vincent's race to lose now in GT3 Pro.
Quick look at the GT3 strategies. You can see Jeffrey Ross apparently hasn't pitted, and I'm not sure that's true.
44 minutes on, what is this, like half fuel? 50 liters? You can't really...
It's very reduced. I couldn't tell you the exact number off the top of my head, but
It would have to be reduced a great deal to only be able to go 25 minutes and somehow extend that by an extra 20 minutes. If it was a 0 stops so far, as we see what was the leader come in, I feel like the race control would have quite a few questions to ask, but it's
the old balloon in the fuel tank trick again.
Yeah, it seems the space frame or the carbon monocoque those things are built around is now also a fuel tank.
Oh, McSign gets the slide past Jack Reeds. Can't make it stick. Rather a very high-pitched sorry there as we go to that battle. So it looks like Jack Reed did get past McSign at some point. Here's Jimenez chasing down still. Melvin Gack handed a 10-second time penalty for not respecting blue flags. That is Sergio Sanchez Cachafiero chasing down. And the GTP's there. Coming through now. It's always terrifying when you're trying to fight in the GT3 class. You're focusing on the car in front and the car behind, and then suddenly a fourth car appears that's way faster than everything else around you that you have to suddenly respect as well.
I will say multiple times while I was GT racing, sometimes I'd see the car approach very quickly behind and be confused. Oh wow, I didn't realize my car was that slow, and then I realized, oh, that's not a GT car, so... does happen quite often, as you can see the Porsche on the inside still trying to make a move into turn 3, not quite done yet, moving down to turn 4, should be able to get it done here. If he doesn't lose under the brake. That's Jack Reed, I believe. Another person who got a very poor qualifying, just been making his way up through the field very effectively as the NSX goes completely off, making that move stick and have another driver come through and snag another position.
Reed will hold to fourth, and that's let Jesus Jimenez slide through, take away fifth position from McSign, who won't be too happy with that. I had a chance at going 2 positions up, lost 2 in the process instead. Ricardo River trying to stop Jeffrey Ross from getting past, but unfortunately that is a very strong looking Mustang right now, trying to pick at the inside. Can't quite get there. A couple drivers taking pit entry here. There's Jimenez, Jack Reed.
Those are 2 cars that just passed that NSX we saw a moment ago, so
Yep,
all for nothing a little bit.
I think McSign stayed out there as well. Let Brown Cran follow through. So is going to heat up momentarily.
It's interesting to see the strategy the GTPs and GTs are doing. The GT seems to be going for a much more aggressive, straightforward 2 stops with quite a decent amount of fuel and just pushing the whole way through. Or I guess some of them will be lifting quite a bit, as we saw with that Porsche earlier in the race with the Mustang. I forget who exactly. And then the GTs are attempting to lift an enormous amount to try and just make it a 1-stop, balancing it out through the whole race, which is it's an interesting dynamic.
Does look like a lot of the GT3s have given up on the chance of doing a two-stopper. Alex Ott will be staying out a bit longer. No, Alex Ott's in the pit lane, what am I saying? So yeah, I think everyone GT3s is going to two-stop this. GTPs, it's still in the air as it stands, but that one stopper definitely on the cards right now. As Brody Maynard has now closed down on the back of Pete Preen's. Maynard, who got sent to the back of the field on that lap 1 incident, might be looking to take the win back, as now the hunt is on for the lead in GTP Ham.
Also, we saw with that shot earlier, the right side pod's kind of crushed in on that car. Oh, and just as we say that, bit of a botched pit entry, but he makes it in. That's, I would assume, for his final stop, because he's doing everything backwards, basically.
Yep. Brief bookkeeping on to De Boer, I believe, is 33, who has been handed a 15-second penalty for causing a collision. But yeah, Bernie Maynard taking repairs. I don't know, because if all the other GTPs are going to be staying out, I think that might be race over for Brody Maynard, who obviously had some issue there.
Well, he didn't have much of a choice with his second pit stop. He had to pit very early on, I believe so, or had to do something very early on to help with those. Not a car that wasn't in very healthy shape. So that was a very short time stop. That was a splash and dash just to make it to the end now. So third overall, even after a bad race, it's still a fairly impressive result. It's just a question of the cars in front. Will they have to pit, and for how long?
Prins and Kacken will be the two drivers that Maynard's concerned with right now, because they are the ones in front of him. Even after taking that second pit stop, still has enough of a buffer to just slot into third place. Did have to burn the fast repair there, but hopefully won't need it for the remaining 10 minutes of this race. But still a lot to play for, and definitely has the pace to hunt down Kakkonen. As I could say Melvin Gack takes the black flag. Incident points we're not talked about, but again, these 1Xs and a few bumps and bashes will get you instant points, and they will lead to a drive-through penalty. A bunch of drivers had hit the 18-point limit. Melvin Gack, one of them, Son De Boer, Nicola Monti, and Jack Reed at 17 currently, interestingly, so watch for them to get black flags as well.
I can only imagine the anxiety of some of these GTP drivers. Because I wonder if we can get onboard to see how much they're lifting. Because I wonder if they're lifting at all. Maybe the margins for fuel is enormous and it's not even close, and they're just cruising to the end of the race now. Or if they're having to crawl and scratch for every little bit of fuel left, because it's just that close. 9 minutes to go now.
Yanni Kakkonen being given a 10-second penalty for causing a collision for hitting a GT3 at some point.
That'll be that incident we saw after he just lost a position to Brody, I think, when he tried to go down the inside of one of the DLR Acuras.
Yes, I see Kemeldart trying to get two of Arley, and I don't know what the fuel situation is like.
You can see there, just with that onboard, you can see it got to the top of 6th gear and around the 200 meter mark, just lifted off and then hit the brakes around 100 meters, which is typical for these cars, but you can see a lot of people having to lift.
Oh, that's an interesting penalty. 10 seconds for the 1, 2, 3 of, make sure I get this right, Sergio Sanchez Casafiero, forcing another driver off track.
And that's in 5th. So he's going to be losing, if it's added on to the end of the race, he actually won't be losing any positions at the moment, but if the car behind him was able to get within 10 seconds, that's pretty much the end of that race for him. And there's a lot of cars actually directly just barely over 10 seconds behind him, which is interesting.
Still everything to play for. The results we show you tonight won't be official. They will be without penalties, and they will all be addressed and presumably be something that comes up post-race. There always is. You'll have to check out our Discord, unfortunately, for final results, which you can find linked to in the description. of this stream. And hopefully we'll get the website back at some point. I quite miss it. Have a look at Emre Kemeldart coming through the fields. Trying to get to the back of Juan Vale still. Can't quite close that gap as much as you like though, and again with that fuel save potentially being an issue, you might not even have the gas to do so, but definitely wants to stay in touch because that draft can help out a lot with fuel numbers. Jack Reed has given a position to Jesus Jimenez, and Sander de Boer is currently leading that group.
I find so interesting that Seaman, for the first half of this race, looked completely untouchable. Fastest, went pretty much on average longest, not absolute longest, but... And then in the second half, it's just completely fallen apart. He hasn't been able to really make any positions up the field. I mean, 5 minutes left, it's not over till it's over. Maybe a lot of people still have to pit, and he's been lifting a lot, but it's really unfortunate for him.
Seaman has been typically a driver you'd see at the front of the field in a lot of these situations, and not just that, there's a long stop here, and I'm not sure what caused it, and that's really what's put him out of contention. He's spent 40 seconds longer in pit road than everybody else and sits 30 seconds off the lead. That's really all you can say on the matter.
I mean, it just shows the level of competition around here. A single tiny mistake and you're immediately thrown miles off the lead when you were dominating for one half of the race.
Further back in GTP Pro, Kokoven and Stegeman going at it for P10. Stegeman on that two-stop strategy as Jani Kakkonen has decided to pit. Brody Maynard has come through, taken second place back, and now all that stands between Maynard and taking the GTP category back is, does Pete Preens have enough fuel left in the car to go remain race distance? Because I don't know the answer to that question.
He made it 20 laps the first stint, and he's currently on 19 laps. 23 laps is the longest we've seen anyone go in the race so far by Kemeldar, and that was in the first stint. I don't know. I think there's more than 23 laps because he's done 19 laps. I think there's not enough time. There's just too much time left to make it to the end. I think Prince is going to have to pit. I think by some miracle, Maynard is going to win his category GT3 of GTP AM after, what was it, getting spun out at the start and getting sent right to the back of the grid.
And the race at the top of GTP Pro isn't over either because Sebastian van der Duve would quite like to take that position away from Samir Ashad. Again, fuel is in the air for these drivers. Whether they can make it or not, Maximilian, I believe, can. But these two might be marginal, especially if they didn't take a full tank. As Van der Heuvel, from third place, says he's boxing as well. I don't know if Ashad said they were pitting. So we'll see what happens here.
Ashad seems to hit looks like a lap later than Sebastian, so maybe he's gonna have to pit a lap later as well, or he's been lifting like mad to try and make the end. But it comes about.
Van out, cannot make it to the end of the race. 3 minutes and change left on the clock, but that's not the end of the race because Maximilian Meyer, if there's fuel in the car, would need to take the checkered flag afterwards to end the race. And this is going to get very spicy, I think. Jesus Jimenez still not done with Sander Boerts. Jack Reed appears to have fallen back a little bit, might be trying to squeeze a little bit more out of the tank. Ooh, that is a very wide-looking Ferrari there. That'll be a 1X. As Pete Preens is coming into the pit lane. I cannot believe it. Barring an absolute nonsense incident in the last 3 minutes, Brody Maynard should come through here, trying to find the little ants for him on the mini-map. See him there coming through the start-finish. Takes the lead of GTPM about now. Last to first challenge successfully achieved for the driver of the 92 car. Absolute blunder.
Don't jinx it now. Let's all look away for just a few minutes just to make sure nothing happens now.
I want to talk about it now because presumably in about 2 minutes we'll be talking about Maximilian Meyer and or Sebastian van der Heuvel, because that's where the race is in the pro category. because I thought Mayo would be good to the end, and as this has gone on, I'm now a little bit concerned.
Hamilton again has that advantage though. He got 23 laps out of that first stint. It's gonna be a huge advantage. If everyone else has to pit except him, he could genuinely win this race from where he is currently seventh overall in category, which is, I mean, minute and a half left. Depends when the leader will take the final lap. Maximilian will be praying for that white flag, however, any second now for him.
Should be getting it this time by, as that's Jack Reed finally taking that final instant point, will be getting a drive-through penalty. As Sander Bauer has been sent off track and has immediately got a instant point penalty as well.
Please, race control check, come on.
Obviously, race control won't be taking position, but
right in the
this
background.
has given Sander Bauer a drive-through again for the instant points. And I'm not sure, actually. That looked kind of like Sander Bauer pinched down a bit too early and might have been responsible for his own demise. Unfortunately, I'll leave it in the hands of race control, though. You're joking? Sebastian van der Rohe was short-fueled?
Sebastian's gonna have to pit again. Or incident. Oh, that makes sense.
I don't see a black flag for Van der Rohe. The white flag is out. Maximilian Mayer will be finishing this race this time by. Unbelievable scenes.
Maximilian, I think, will hold on. Just 22 laps per stint. He's able to get this done surgically after Siemens' complete fumbling, unfortunately, earlier in the race. As you see, another overtake for fifth. Nightmare scenario, but you can see Casper coming by in third and Maximilian coming to the checkered flag now, I believe.
That 0-2 is Jani Kakkonen, will be a lap up, so fuel mileage might be an issue there. Will also be a black flag for the 0-2. It might have pulled over, actually. Let the hypercar through as Maximilian Mayer, in a race that was topsy-turvy for just about the entire field, manages to make the one-stopper work, will come across the take checkered flag in first place. Samir Rashad takes second. Eli Cabanero comes home in third place. As Brody Maynard, once again with an absolute blinder of a strategy call. Not even a strategy call, just a good old-fashioned race, will eventually bring it home to win GTP. And further back in the field, Verle and Kemeldorf fighting towards the line as a whole bunch of messages come through there. Kemeldorf not happy about something.
I know we're meant to be talking about the overall leader, but hands together for Maynard. That was unbelievable drive. Last to first, or first to last to first, really.
Will come through and take a well-deserved first the GPAMs Preens, and will eventually come home, take second place in that category ahead of Casper Hu. Vincent Ossum still out on track, who will win your GTP. There we go. GT3 Pro category, excuse me, with Jose Villarejo coming home in first in GT3 AM. Sander Bauer has a big old crash coming to the start-finish line to take the checkered flag. Just a wild race all around. And once again, the results we're going to show you in a moment are provisional, because there's a lot of penalties being shown here. There's a bunch of penalties for black flags, and a lot of drivers picked up black flags at the end there on incident points, and they all need to be served.
Alex expressing frustration.
For Maximilian Mayer, really good drive. Outstanding strategy, good call on the fuel number as well, made the whole thing work. And for Brody, just a phenomenal hero performance to get all the way from the back of the field to the front of it. Again, these are provisional. Maximilian Mayer, your winner in GTP Pro as they cross the line with Samira Shad coming home in second, and then Oli Caminero in third. Sergio Sanchez will take fourth place over Emery Carroll and Alvaro Gutierrez. Ruben Stegeman and Jean-Paul Seaman, after starting far up the field, falling all the way down to 8th place. Sebastian Badarou will be your 9th place finisher ahead of Juanto Ovale, Albert Prima, and Koy Koven. Unfortunately, on the lead lap, but a minute and 41 off of the leaders. Over in the AM category, Brody Maynard, again with that hero drive, will take the checkered flag in first place ahead of Pete Preens and Casper Hu. Carlos Ponce not necessarily a lap down to Maynard, but did finish one down to the GTP leaders overall, so will be scored there. He'll be ahead of Leon Elowout, Ben Groenveld, and Yanni Kakkonen. Nicola Monti unfortunately falls 2 laps down. Daniel Renick and Nicola D'Alicia retiring after the race start incident. Cleo, would you like to take the GT3 field?
Certainly. Vincent Osmonds taking the GT3 Pro win overall over the privateer of Jeffrey Ross in second, 8 seconds behind. Third was Daniel Morphy in the Red Eagle number 8 machine, 9 seconds behind. Fourth, Alex Ott, with a quite eventful race, if memory serves, in the Dutch League Racing. Lap down in fifth, Adam Jarvis in the Spanglish Inquisition. I believe he's started last in class, which is an impressive drive up. Ricardo Riva in sixth, a lap down in the Ether Racing. Seventh, Vincent in the Dutch League Racing. Eighth, Gregory Kohler with the Privateer. And last, Oriol Folk in Spanglish Inquisition, the GT3 Pro. Unfortunately, he retired with 39 laps down, which is effectively the start of the race. For the GT3M, in first we had Jose Villa in the Go Esports, winning by 22 seconds. Second, we had Senna in the Volati Racing Team. Third, Timon in the Dutch League Racing. Fourth, Kevin Kolpers in the Privateer. Mick Seigen, Dutch League Racing, 39 seconds in fifth. Sixth, we had Jesus Jimenez with the Go Esports. It was 46 seconds down. Seventh, we had Bram in the ERA Esports Racing. Eighth, Quinton Bossi of the Draken Racing Team. Ninth, Sander, ERA Esports Racing. 10th, Medeiros, with Draken Racing Team, with teammate behind Mateo Draken Racing Team as well, both a lap down. Jack Reed in 12th, lap down with Reed Racing. Melvin Gak, 13th overall with the Dragon Racing Team. And finishing off the GT3 AM was Garwin Mellencamp, 21 laps down, retiring around halfway through the race. Dutch League Racing.
Oh, again, all that provisional. You'll be able to find the actual results when they're released over our Discord. Again, link in the description when it becomes available. We'll be back the same time next week for our round 5 race at Mugello. But until then, I've been Alice Davison with Chloe Culper and George Hill in the booth. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye and good night.